What if the epicness that we sometimes spend our entire lifetime searching for exists not in spite of the boulders, but thanks to the boulder version of you, that these boulders inspire you to become? Often, when we least expect it, life thrusts us into the role of the reluctant hero or hero in our own story. How we respond in those moments can be the difference between thriving or just surviving. We believe that our story will be determined by how we dare to answer one burning question: how to choose to live. Join us as we explore the mindset shifts, innovative strategies, and captivating stories from my own life experience and those of my truly epic guests. So let's get this started. So, welcome to today's episode of the How to Choose to Live podcast. And once again, this is one of those special episodes where I welcome my epic side chick, Sandy Nordstrom, back into the arena. Sandy has entered the building. And so, as you know, it is total magic when we play together, because what we want you to experience is the benefits of what is commonly known as side door coaching. So we're going to take some questions that Sandy is absolutely genius at coming up with and think in the context that maybe you might have pondered something similar. And would I coach in the context of this kind of question? So without any further ado, let's welcome the amazing, the epic, the always Queen Sandy.
Well, thank you. And Happy New Year. That actually is, thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here again. That actually, what you were discussing, as well as with the new year, that's something that uh, has been kind of going on. I think everybody has reevaluations when it's a new year or a birthday or an anniversary. You kind of uh, tend to take a look and, or at least I do tend to take a look and evaluate, okay, where am I in my life? Am I achieving the things I want to achieve? Uh, what are my next steps, or like with New Year's, what are my resolutions going to be this year? And are they the same as last year's? And one of the things I find as I've gotten older is also catching in with the evaluating of New Year's specifically. Um, how do I reconcile or work with stuff that either because I'm older, is it time to let go of some of these things that I had thought I might achieve with my life? Because I have gotten, do I let go of it or do I move on from them? How can I, how do you do that?
That's a great question. And I do think that it's something that we all come face to face with, because uh, yes, there's always the first. However, there are physical realities too. For example, I mean, you are probably not going to land on the US gymnastics team at the age of 40, right? I'm not saying it's not possible, but um, but there are certain dreams that we do have that we hold near and dear. What you're immediately bringing up for me is, you're familiar with the story that when I was young, I thought that I knew exactly what I wanted to be when I grew up, and that was a prima ballerina. I wanted to be a principal dancer with the New York City Ballet, and I danced my heart and soul out. And the crushing blow came
when I was considered a shoo-in for a leading role in the spring production. And for what seemed like a total inexplicable reason to me at the time, all of a sudden, my beloved ballet teacher not only wouldn't look at me in the auditions, but she cast me in the chorus, which is about as low as you could be. And so rather than asking the kind of questions that I would ask now as an adult, um, I assumed we were all remember the question of what am I assuming that is not necessarily true? Well, in that case, it was a big assumption. And the assumption was that it must be me. It must be something that one, I couldn't trust that little voice inside of me that told me that this was my destiny, that my self-worth, my dreams, my life, anything that was big and worthy hinged on me becoming a principal dancer. I had been so clear on that, and my voice had betrayed me by making me look stupid by thinking that I knew, right? So the first assumption that was flawed was that it must be me. And then the second was, of course, that I could never trust that voice ever again because I never wanted to feel that level of pain again. And the third assumption was that it was something that I somehow had caused. It was some lack, some flaw in me. Well, decades later, literally when I was in my late 40s, early 50s, I discovered that the truth had nothing to do with me. My parents had been in the middle of a divorce. It had been decided that I was going to go away to school. And so, as they were in the process of divvying up the financials, my ballet teacher had not been promptly paid. And she was furious, to put it mildly. And so she made the decision, why should I reward their child with a lead role if they're delinquent in paying me? And I never knew that. And so that went on to color my life, my self-image, my trust of that little voice going forward. So why do I share this in the context of your question? I share that because clearly, even knowing what I know now, kind of cleaning all that up, I'm not going to go into the ballet studio and say, okay, I'm ready. I was talented, right?
Hmm.
And so what I have come to learn though is that sometimes in the early part of our lives, we're under the impression that our self-worth, our value, our ability to please, our ability to matter, whether what is the purpose for us having been here is based on what we do. When we talk about things that we have achieved, tends to be very physical actions, things that, diplomas and certificates and awards that we can hang on the wall or put into our resume. What I have discovered, and this is to respond to your question, what we often miss as we're attempting to answer that question of what do I want to do when I grow up, it really goes back to not truly listening to the original question. The original question typically is, who do you want to be when you grow up? And we take a detour and we shift that without even realizing it into what do I want to do when I grow up? So if we can go back and say, what was it, the essence that really made my heart sing when I had these, what was it about that dream that felt so fulfilling? What would it make me feel about myself had I achieved that dream? And I have found and I have seen that when we can go back and maybe pause, step back, grab a piece of paper and a pen, and really write down, journal, or even just a few abstract words on a piece of paper that really detail what was it about that dream that that triggered your imagination to have those feelings of like bliss and ease and perfection, which we all know isn't our normal day in,
Mhm.
day out definition of perfection. You look out into the world, perfection is flow, not eliminating flaw, right? It's all flow focused. And so when you can start saying, well, what was it about ballet? It was that feeling that being totally present and feeling that I can express myself, I can emote without boundaries, even to the point to the tip of my fingers and the tip of my toes. I can experience life in this moment. I can I can be artistic. I can express my creativity. I can play in the world of imagination, right? And I can
Mhm.
also experience the sense of accomplishment for working hard for something that is very difficult initially. But with my determination, I discover that I am capable of surmounting the difficulties that stand in my way. I'm able to see myself in a way that I hadn't been able to see myself before. I'm able to feel liberation. I'm able to feel, all sorts of exhilaration sort of feeling. That is what I aspired to show up being, as the individual who experiences that. So when we can kind of hit the reboot button a bit and say, okay, first of all, this dream that I have had, what's the why beneath the dream?
Mhm.
And maybe go a few levels deep. It's a very valuable exercise is why do I think being a prima ballerina would make me feel successful? Well, it's something I've always wanted to do in my life. Okay, why is it something that you've always wanted to do in your life? Well, um, because I always wanted to feel that I was really good at something, right? That I was a master at something, and that I was really able to live and fulfill a talent that I knew that I had. Okay, why does ballet make you feel that you have your hitting your potential, right? And follow the trail to get to the point where you can really realize that ballet is just a mechanism for challenging yourself to explore what might be your potential. What are those gifts that you have been given? And can you go out there with total commitment against all odds and really find a place where you can explore not what you're going to be doing next, but who you really deliciously are? What does that look like? And does it even need to be a profession, quite frankly?
Mhm.
Can be, but what is to prevent you? I will show you, for example. Are you ready? Bum, ba-da-dum. I don't have rose-colored glasses, but I do have ruby green, emerald green, Wizard of Oz, like, you know,
Mhm.
glasses. And the reason I put these on is because, believe it or not, I actually wore these out in public over the weekend. Yes. No, pay no attention to the fact that I wore these to an Elvis bash. But the point is, the reason that I share this is that at some level, it's giving yourself permission to make this life an opportunity to explore what is the most epic expression of yourself in that moment, whatever that ends up looking for you, and allowing yourself the license to imagine being able to be the person who experiences the bliss, experiences the playfulness, experiences the joy. And that fully aliveness is what gives you that beingness. And that's between you and you. And if you want to
Mhm.
expand that and say whatever spirit or essence you may consider to be your God or your universe or your whatever word you use, define what are my dreams that I'm giving up. Is my dream being a ballet dancer? Yeah, I'm probably I'm gonna let that one sit on the shelf. I had a blissful time doing my ballet when I did it. I loved it. And would it be nice if my body would still say, yeah, let's go out there and do a few grand jetés? Absolutely. But I'm the only one who tells me that I'm giving up on my dreams if my playfulness, my expression of creativity shows up wearing eyeglass leashes and sparkly rhinestone glasses when I want to. When I decide, for me, an expression of that creativity, you're never too old for it. How about, I don't remember her name, but she died not that long ago and she went viral because she was the oldest teenager in the world, like 100 plus years, and she wore the crazy glasses and just it was her style. It was her
Mhm.
expression of who she was that will far outlive her physical capsule. So I would say, in response to that, especially at the beginning of the year, rather than use that as an opportunity to experience remorse, I would use the beginning of the year as your opportunity to pull out your Emerald City rhinestone glasses and your ruby red slippers at the same time. Wear them at the same time. Um, they are red and green like Christmas, so it's just a little passe. But um, really take a look at going back to what we talk about a lot. What is your focus and what are you going to make that mean? And are you going to choose this moment to kill time or to make the most of this moment, realizing you have never lived it before, you will never live it again, to decide this is my moment to envision beyond anything that I have ever imagined. And the trick is to envision in terms of feelings and setting the intention for what are my dreams? What does living my dream feel like? Well, living my dream feels like giving myself permission to put on these glasses. Feel like living my dream feels like more laughter, more joy. Um, living my dreams feels like play. It
Mhm.
feels like exhilaration. It feels like getting creative. It feels like focusing more on the space beyond the challenges than the work to get beyond those challenges. Living my dream feels like exploring a sense of purpose and passion and allowing it to be uniquely mine, doesn't have to be validated by anyone. Living my dreams feels like maybe coming up with something that I didn't even know I was capable of being or doing. Living my dream feels like looking for opportunity, celebrating things that really go well. Does that make sense?
No, it makes perfect sense. And I like the idea of, again, instead of focusing on that specific um, thing, looking more at the feeling that you want to achieve. And that goes into not just reevaluating where you're at or whether you need to give up on a dream, but it also the whole resolution thing and, oh, I need to lose 10 pounds. Well, that's great, but maybe focus on how you want to feel and
Yeah,
try and achieve that. That's what it sounds like you're saying.
totally. Totally. And, and pressing that reboot button and realizing that the only reason that we think it's so cool of an idea to quote unquote live our dream is because how we believe that dream will make us feel, how we believe that dream will make us feel about ourselves, our lives, or even being here,
Mhm.
right? And so no thing, no lack of experience, nothing can take that away from you without your agreement to allow that to be taken,
Can you
right?
explain that?
Yes. Yes. And thank you for asking that. So what that means is not being able physically to say, I'm finally going to live that dream of being a prima ballerina does not mean that I'm giving up on my dreams. First of all, those were dreams of a different version of me. The only way that I'm giving up on the essence of that dream and what it really represented, what it stood to give to me, was if I buy in to the story. Oh, it's so tragic. Meredith was such a talented ballet dancer, and the horror that her beloved ballet teacher thought she would make a statement that impacted the entire future. This, you know, this woman could have gone on to be one of the great stars of the New York City Ballet, but instead, it had all these negative repercussions. She made some really bad choices in different aspects of her life because she distrusted that little voice inside of her that had seemed so clear. You go down that road and tell that story, it's pretty freaking depressing, right?
Yeah.
However, when you go back to the saying that you may have heard about relationships, that relationships happen for a reason, a season, or a lifetime, I would say to substitute the concept of dreams, my calling, my purpose, because again, even if we're really passionate about something in this moment and we give heart and soul to it, it may have completed its purpose in our wheel of time in 10 years. So
Hmm.
does it mean that we get burned out from it? I guess you could define it that way. Or you could say it has completed the loop, closed the loop, and now serve the purpose of asking me, so what's next? What now? Now that you are this version of yourself, what do you want to play with next? What do you want to dream about next? Who do you want to commit to showing up to being next? Right? And that's where I think we have the opportunity, specifically at these landmark dates, to infuse ourselves with excitement, optimism, possibility. I don't care. There can be some crappy things going on in the world around us. And to what we were talking about earlier, that may be physical pain. And yes, it is much more difficult to keep any sense of alignment. And it takes a really elevated level of understanding how to play that inner game to just stay at even keel and not let it pull you down into the depths of pain,
Hmm.
right? Because physical pain is
Oh yeah.
intended to bring its attention to you. You can use the discipline that you've built up over time previously to help you have more moments when you're able to use that imagination, because that's the tool that can really help you to envision beyond that, or envision things getting better, or to even envision things that please you that physically you may not be able to do right then and there. But and there may be just experiences out there. I mean, there are plenty of experiences that when we focus on them and we allow that
Hmm.
debilitating story to become our story. And I'm not saying that you should be in denial. I'm just saying that you need to choose. You have a responsibility to choose how much traction you give those debilitating moments, because this is your life, meaning this is your opportunity. You have no idea how long you are going to be here. Do you want it to have a significance? Do you want it to be the opportunity for your soul, your beingness, to explore who you have the potential to being? The only one who can answer that question is you. And by spending your life down at the bottom, and there is no bottom, but at the bottom of a rabbit hole, is not going to be a very pleasant answer to that question. But there's
Right.
no right answer, there's no wrong answer, the answer for you. It's a choice, which you can change at any moment. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Does that start to answer that question at all?
Yes, it definitely it's shifting perspective. It's instead of bemoaning at my age I can't move and do this or what have you, it's focusing on I really like that because like you said, physicality might not always be there with you, but your mental and emotional you can have with you. So therefore that's something can always move forward with. I like that. I don't know if I'm reiterating it
Yes.
correctly, but it
No,
did resonate with me. So
yeah, and I mean, how many times have we, to go back to whatever her name is, the oldest teenager in the world? Um, how many times though have you seen the the older man or the older woman who just says, at this point in my life, I'm letting go of all that other stuff that, all the should haves, and I'm going to go out and I'm going to enjoy my life.
mhm,
Wow, isn't that living your dream? And what if
absolutely.
you could make the declaration that I'm not going to wait until I hit a certain, age group before I can give myself permission. Dang it, if I want to go out in public with glasses like this. And guess what? I had more people come up to me and go, "Oh my God, they're so great. I love them," than I did that. In fact, I had no one who like looked at me like, "Oh my God, what is," and yet the little voice that keeps us from putting these on outside of our home
Hmm.
is a little voice that goes, "Oh, I wouldn't do that. People are going to think you're just a little bit, like one of those people." right?
Yep.
And yet, if we can get excited and say, "Ooh, this is an opportunity," kind of like an artist starting a new canvas, what is my masterpiece of this year going to look like? What colors am I going to choose for this year? What am I going to play with? May not be the same colors I played with last year, may not be the
Mhm.
same colors I ever play with again. And isn't that living my dream and speaking to that one goal that I talk about all the time, and that one goal only of whenever that big boulder does fall, whenever we are taking that final breath, to be able to say, oh my gosh, I have truly lived, and this was so freaking epic. I hope I have the chance to do it again. If you don't walk outside with your own variation of emerald green glasses, you may be depriving yourself. The world isn't depriving you. You may be depriving yourself of living that dream, and it had nothing to do with your age.
Hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
So this year, if you're listening to this, this is your emerald green glasses year, if you choose to make it so. And I would encourage you to make the shift, like Sandy and I just made, of saying, define letting go of my dreams, right? I will never let go of my real big dream. That my one big dream is to fulfill that one goal. That's the real dream, because why did I want to be a ballet dancer? All this kind of stuff. Why did I want to
Hmm.
be a chef? Right? So I would say use this, turning of a page of a year as an opportunity to say, ooh, what haven't I explored that would be even more fully me? What can I dare to try out, knowing that I'm going to find some things about it that I love, some things, maybe not so much. But boy, will it help me get closer and closer to finding a bigger, bolder version of myself, that more epic version of myself that really can crawl into bed at night and say, oh, I have deliciously lived.
I like it.
Whoa. Oh my gosh, Sandy, it is always such a pleasure having you on with all of you, whoever is here watching this. We're like your epic chicks, Sandy and I, and our little community of questers, I guess. I like to call us joy rears, the joy rear tramily tribe family. So Sandy, let's finish this by me asking you a question. And the
Uh-oh.
question the question would be, based on the question that you just asked,
Hmm.
knowing that you have 365 days. Not quite. We are 14 days when we are filming this into 2025. So almost. Knowing that we have but a few more days left in 2025, what might you dare to risk exploring, envisioning even, not and because action is just as much, there's critical action that needs to be taken in your inner game before you can get the inspiration to take the action for the outer game. So, what are one, two, or three critical actions, inner game or outer game, that you are going to dare to take, knowing that this is part of your quest to discover what it means to be living your dream?
That's good. Uh, Reminding myself first that it is focusing on how I want to feel as opposed to maybe automatically thinking, okay, what's this, either this job or this step or this activity, before thinking about that, thinking, how is this going to agree with where I want to feel I'm going, what I want to experience? And then if it does, taking the steps towards it. But first checking in on the feeling of what I want to be, because I do feel that as I have gotten older and as I've worked with you and had experiences, that I do feel that I'm growing and going where I want to, and that I am, in my mind, achieving those aspects of things. But it's then, I don't want to even say, but it's then,
Oh, I love that you just did that because you know my little butt radar went. She said but. She said but. And so for those of you who are watching, quick little insert here. Notice the shift in energy when she said but. It like turns the energy that way. Had Sandy done what she's about to do and say so instead, it's almost like it gives it a rocket boost. It gives it a turbocharge in that same direction of the momentum. The impact, the effect is very, very different. So kudos to you, Sandy, for catching that one.
Thank you. So it's just knowing that I am heading in the direction, as I said, I want to, in the way that I feel, just checking in and making sure that everything continues with that, is backing that, is supporting that, whatever I'm choosing to focus or look at. I don't know that it's definitely a 1, 2, 3. It's more of just a being aware and enjoying the process, which I always used to hear, and I'd be like, how can you enjoy the process? It's supposed to be hard. But it's true. It's once you are working or aiming towards the things that really do enhance and bring that joy into your life, and feeling that, it is enjoying the experience of heading in that direction. So I don't know, I can't say it's a specific 1, 2, 3. It's more of a continuously action or emotional action oriented.
Brava. I love that. And if there was a subtle, often overlooked number three, it would be to remember that iteration, course correction,
Mm,
flow means movement. It's not stagnation. It's not, flow is not, okay, here's one definition of perfection, get in the box and stay there. Flow is movement. And typically,
mm,
flow is associated with that ability to adapt and be flexible. And if you look out into the world, that really is something that achieves quote unquote perfection, is its ability to flow and adapt with the time, with the circumstances, with the conditions, right? So when we step forward with a plan, with the understanding that iteration, which comes only from what works, what doesn't work, what do we want to do differently. We cannot have a successful plan without iteration. In other words, without the data that says, maybe not that so much, right? So it's rejoicing in the iteration, and the iteration is what we typically would call the journey. Does that make sense?
absolutely.
Yeah. Yay. Well, thank you so much for joining us on this New Year's sparkly version of the How to Choose to Live podcast, as Sandy and I have a little bit of fun with these mock coaching sessions. I hope that they have been of value to you. And I hope that maybe you can think of someone that this might be of value to as well, and that you will share it. So be sure to come back and join us. Sandy, of course, will be back. We'll be doing more and more of these, and we've done a couple in the past, so make sure you go and find those. And most of all, today is a perfect opportunity for you to go out and unleash the most epic version of you after you subscribe and comment, of course, below. And declare that you intend to be here for our next episode of the How to Choose to Live podcast. So, Sandy, thank you so much. Here's to an epic 2025.
Mm-hmm.
Woo!